Hello and welcome again to a spot of positivity on this lovely windy Tuesday. Happy to be with you again today. Yesterday we had a little bit of a break from what I think is going to be a normal. Yesterday was meant to be kind of more of a body, taking care of yourself, diet, exercise kind of day, but we did a hair thing because there was a hair thing happening in my house. Hey, we thought, why don't we film it? So anyway, have a sip of your tea and let's get started. So actually, here in Cyprus, just to report to you, it is actually decent weather in that it's not blazing sunshine. And it's windy. In fact, I had to kind of close the windows a little bit because it was shock horror chilly. It probably isn't chilly. It's probably 24 or something like that. It's not like at all chilly to anyone who is used to this kind of thing or whatever. And I have lived in Scotland for many, many, many years, and so 24 is when the teachers are giving you, well, not letting the children go outside because of the heat wave. So it's all relative, right? Depends where you are. I was going to say at the end of last week, I felt the heat actually because it was 39. That's like 100. But it came as such a shock. I'm sure our bodies are able to take that easily. But at that time, because it came as such a shock, I found that I was actually quite drained by the end of the week, and a lot of us were. It's almost like you have to adjust your whole way of being with people and everything, talking to them. It can just come at you, and it can change the way you live. So we have to really be gracious to each other and all that kind of thing in our family. When there's heat around, you have to kind of choose that you're going to forgive any remarks because people probably didn't mean them. They mean the nice ones. They don't mean the ones that come off a bit funny. Anyway, so enjoyed the haircut, but back to Tuesday, which is going to be a hair today Tuesday, and I will talk a little bit about hair today because happy surprise, happy delight, I was able to go to the hairdresser yesterday. I will just say before that means that in Cyprus we're allowed to do more than we were able to do. Hairdressers have been closed and barbers and all that kind of thing. But as of last Thursday, things began to open a bit more. So before that, we had to text the government if we were going out. We had to have a kind of code we put in, and we wait for their reply, and they would give us their reply, and then we could go out and all that kind of thing. All of a sudden, and it was sudden, Friday, or was it Thursday? We were able to do it. We were able to go out and do stuff without asking anyone. I think it was actually Thursday. So that meant, well, it's a weird thing, isn't it? It means that you aren't sure how mad to go with it. So you have to kind of adjust the way you choose to meet with people. I call it like partial lockdown, even though it's completely free now in some ways. There's still regulations. There are schools that are open, but children have to sit apart, and I think children are allowed to stay home instead because for many children, I think it would be really hard to not be able to even go near your teacher. Your teacher can't actually touch your work. When it's playtime, you can't play with anyone, at least not close to them, and that could be quite stressful, especially when you're only about 7 or 8 or something like that. So yeah, I still think it's partial lockdown. Anyway, having said all that, I went to the hairdresser yesterday, and because we are doing our, I should call it letdown. No, that sounds a bit our relaxing of a lockdown. We're doing it, trying to do it gradually and carefully. So I wore a mask to my hairdresser yesterday, and she responded in kind. So I think she's doing this, feeling it out, seeing how people are going to be with her, and she's adjusting her way of acting with them accordingly. So I was a mask wearer, so she wore a mask, And I got there, I got to talk to somebody. First time I've been in anyone's house for like 3 months. Very nice. We had a lovely time. Oh, my hair wanted it so badly. So I no longer, you might see, I no longer have roots. Yay! Which is probably a bit of, we won't bother looking in case there's any staining on my forehead. But this is my summer color. That means that the sunshine is going to lighten it. So it's slightly darker than I would go in the winter because the sun isn't so strong then. But with this, it's quite dark, and the sun will lighten it to being exactly what I want. And yeah, so I will say we sat there, we had a nice chat. I wore my mask, she wore hers. I took it off just to get like rinsed off, and I don't know if that defeats the purpose, but how does one know? You just do your best, right? None of us has walked this road before, so I've not been in a pandemic or in a quarantine or anything like that. You just have to do your best and trust that it's okay. So yeah, I was gonna say about the color though, maybe it's not interesting to you, you can just turn this off. If it's not interesting to you, I won't be offended. But for me, I've had this funny journey of hair colors. I love red hair. Maybe it's sort of Anne of Green Gables. Maybe it's from that. I don't know. I don't really think I thought about it very much when I read that book when I was little. But it's grown on me. Maybe it was Titanic. Yeah, maybe around then. I started liking red hair a lot. And I call it red, but some people would say copper or ginger. And having lived in Scotland for so many years, there's lots of natural redheads there. I just like it. So I had many years I was doing highlights, blonde highlights, and straightening my hair, but at that time I kept it like it was a really little bob thing. And then when I started wanting to grow it out, highlights were no longer practical because it's okay if you're cutting it out all the time. But for me, it was damaging my hair too much, even though it was good highlights and everything. But for me, it was too much of a damage. So last couple years, probably the last 5 years, I've had red hair. And that took its time too, because try going to a hairdresser and saying you want bright hair. And they want to err on the side of caution. At least all my hairdressers have. And it took quite a lot of convincing that I actually wanted to have a color, a bright, happy, vibrant color, not just sort of reddish toned dark brown or auburn. I wanted bright and happy. And so many times I have left the hairdressers disappointed because they've given me this kind of, yeah, like I said, brownish, auburnish, reddish thing, and I wanted bright. So finally I had to be very vehement and assertive and say I would like to have the brightest hair that could be naturally possible. I mean, I could go wild and do something rainbow or blue or green or something, or bright fire engine red, but I like something that could be natural, but it's like, you know, God's brightest pot of paint on my head, please. And so I finally got what I wanted, but it took me being very vehement. And sometimes you have to really speak up, because at one time, for instance, I remember this guy was cutting my hair, and he said to me, "Oh," he said, "this will be very cute." And he had a cute little accent, and I said, "Okay," and I just nodded my head, yeah. And I thought, why did I do that? Anyway, now I have the kind of color I want. This is my summer color. It should turn out quite nicely once the sun has had its way with it. And yeah, that was a successful thing. I liked going there. I hope that you are getting along fine with your hair and whatever stage of lockdown your country is in. I don't know, I've seen lots of things on the internet, taking felt tip pens and doing your roots, and You can do all kinds of things. That's not damaging. I mean, maybe it really is, but I did a little bit of that myself because what do you do? And I wouldn't want to color my roots myself. That's a hairdresser's job. Even though I could do that to someone else, I wouldn't want to do that to myself. And I was talking to my hairdresser yesterday and she completely understands. So, yes, I hope you're holding out okay. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a very nice afternoon. All the best. Come back later to a spot of positivity. Yay!